Mayor's report.
No report.
Council reports, starting with Councilman Brownlee, District 5.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After a lot of thought, a lot of consideration, I have decided that the best course of action in our city, and for me and my responsibility as the councilman of District 5, is to lay out a framework for how things will be done or should be done and how I expect them to be done in our city. So I've drafted a letter to the city officials and the people of Maple Heights, Ohio. It's a notification of a commitment to certain legislative protocols. To my fellow city officials and neighbors, being an elected representative of the residents of Maple Heights, it is my duty and privilege to uphold the charter of the city and to protect the interests of my constituents. Moreover, this year has presented the city with additional challenges that necessitate an increased concern for sound planning, cooperation with the community, and transparency. It is worthwhile to briefly recall some of the issues that should have been avoided during the past 6 months. City Council passed and subsequently repealed 2 separate pieces of legislation. Another piece of legislation was passed, then drastically amended 2 months later. A charter amendment was claimed to have passed for 2 whole months, though it had not received the requisite number of affirmative votes. Many pieces of legislation, most notably the traffic camera ordinance, were passed without a single opportunity for public input. And perhaps most egregiously, 2 public hearings were held even though the public had no opportunity to preview the legislation in question. Circumstances such as these should not occur so frequently. These reasons and others are why I, as a member of council, now find it necessary to commit myself to a common sense protocol for the consideration and passage of legislation. As of today, all legislation will require the following. First, all legislation must be presented in the introducer's final form 7 days prior to passage. All legislation must have at least one opportunity for the public to make comments at a meeting before the council prior to passage. All legislation regarding budgets, appropriations, or expenditures must come before the council at a finance committee meeting prior to passage. And finally, all legislation shall conform to these rules unless convincing evidence proves the necessity to temporarily suspend these rules. These terms will serve the public good by allowing every formal action of this body to be given due consideration. These terms will also afford the residents of our good city, my neighbors, an opportunity to know and participate in the business of their government. Therefore, from this point forward, I am committed to upholding this common sense approach to legislation. The gravity of my position and the severity of our situation require it. Sincerely, Bill Brownlee. This is my express desire and what will be necessary, I think, for us to begin to turn the corner on our problems in Maple Heights. And this is what I am committing myself to, and I encourage other members of council to commit themselves to such common sense guidelines for the consideration of the laws that we pass and the resolutions that we pass in this city. Secondly, oddly enough, we did not hear any report from the legal department this evening. Nothing, not a peep. Do you know what I'm holding here in front of me? Any guesses what this is? It's a big packet with about 20 pages in it from the Supreme Court of Ohio. Every council member and the law director received one of these. Any idea what it's about?
Did you get it?
Do you know?
That's a lie.
He said he
Do
didn't
you
get
know?
it. He said he didn't get it.
Do you know?
I didn't get it.
Would you please not interrupt the comments? Thank you.
Tell the truth.
So, these were sent out to all members of council and the law director. Well, then he must not have got it yet.
He didn't.
So, please don't interrupt anymore. So here we are. The Supreme Court of Ohio has sent 20 pages. Do you know what it is? It's a writ of mandamus. Do you know what a writ of mandamus is? It's legalese.
It's mandamus.
Thank you.
Not mandamus.
So, do you know what that is?
Bill 11.
Madam Chair, are you going to control the sideline comments?
You take control.
Yeah, will you, Madam Chair?
I'm not sure you're
Look at this outburst now. I have to be silent for everyone else, but no one else has to be silent for me.
You never are.
Thank you. So, a writ of mandamus, potatoes, mandamus. So, do you know what it is? It is a command.
Not to shoot other
It is a command. It is a command to obey the law. Why did the city government receive a command to obey the law? It's because we are attempting to thwart the law. Does anybody know what these documents are? This is a petition filed by your neighbors. A petition with 722 valid signatures on it that says we want a charter amendment to have a say on whether there will be traffic cameras in Maple Heights. 722 signatures. Do you know how many signatures are required by state law for them to put this on the ballot, this charter amendment? 10% of the last general election, which would equal 351. They have more than double that here. And do you know what the response of the law director has been so far? The response of the law director has been so far, they do not have enough signatures. We don't want this on the ballot. Do you know maybe why that position is taken? That position has been taken because I assume the traffic cameras have become our fiscal savior in Maple Heights. And to let this go down would be the end of the world for us. Who cares whether the law is broken? Who cares whether we tell our residents they can go packing? Who cares about those things, right? Because we're the city government. We tell you where to stand and what to do. Right here, the Ohio Secretary of State. If you want plain English, not legalese, right here, this nice little handbook about elections. It says here, regarding the filing of a charter amendment initiative. Simply stated, a petition proposing a charter amendment requires a signature of 10% of the electors of the municipality based upon the total number of the votes cast at the most recent municipal election. 351. How many did I say were here? 722. Why is this not going on the ballot? Why was it just referred to committee? We will be forced to do it. We could choose to do it this very night. We could recall that question. We could do our duty. And we could pass this tonight and avoid having the court embarrass us before the month is out. That's what we could do right now. Or we could be hard-headed and we could demand, I'm going to do things my way. Forget the Supreme Court of Ohio, who's ruled on multiple cases like this. We're going to do it our way. Is that the city government that you want? It's not the city government I want. It's not a city government that I frankly want to be a part of. But if I withdraw, what will happen? It'll run rampant, and you won't even know about it. Just like the $10 million that was borrowed that nobody knows about that happened in 2009 and 10. $10 million were borrowed. Now you each have, I don't know, a few $100s of that debt that you've got to pay back. Did you know that? I'm not saying it maybe shouldn't have happened, but did you know? Do you know? Did anyone let you know? No. I'd say maybe 10% of people at the most knew about that. Well, this is the problem in Maple Heights and partly why I wrote this letter. But it's also why I am calling community forum meetings. Had one 2 months ago, had one last month, we'll be having one this month to let you know what's happening. 2 months ago, about 10, 15 people learned for the first time that they had a $10 million loan that they had to pay back as residents of the city. They learned something that night. Last month, they learned how the traffic program works, and we, frankly, learned a little bit more about it as well. So this month, we're going to be learning more about both of these things, the financial issues in the city and the traffic cameras, what's happening. Because you see, here in the next week, we're going to have information back from the state auditors regarding whether our financial plan, recovery plan, was approved. And we'll also have information, we're going to find out tonight, whether the Supreme Court's going to force us to put this on the ballot. So we're going to be talking about those two things next Thursday evening, the 11th, at 7 p.m. So it'll be at the library in the auditorium again, as the last one was. You can come prepared to ask questions about these two things. If you want more information, you can go on my Facebook page and see the event there, a further description of what's going to be happening and how it will be taking place. So feel free to do so, because information is power. If you want to have power over what happens here in Maple Heights, you're going to have to first be informed, be aware of what's happening. So I want you to be empowered, informed, so that you won't be misled by minimal or misinformation. So please join me. It'll be another engaging evening. It'll also be September 11th, so we'll have a small commemoration of that day, a very significant day in the history of our nation. And I hope that you can join us. But as of right now, I pray that you will pray for our city, because we have very serious troubles outside and inside. So please pray for us, and please become educated so that you can make a difference in what happens in our community. May God bless you, and may God bless Maple Heights.
Councilman Richard Trojanski, District 6.
Thank you, Madam President. Last month I had the first of many District 6 Community Association meetings. What I did is I started a District 6 Community Association meeting, so we had the first meeting, which was held on Saturday, August 23rd at the library at 11 o'clock in the auditorium. I had the privilege of having Chief Papalacci come out and talk to the residents. I had the residents, you know, there's a lot of negativity in the city, and I wanted the residents to think about, I gave them an exercise. I gave them 15 minutes to come up with 3 things, broke them down into groups, and they gave them this exercise to come up with 3 things that are positive things about our city, and then 3 things that are challenges that we can work together on addressing. So the positives were the police, the fire, the social services, the senior center, Meals on Wheels program, and the food pantry. Issues of concern they had was kids walking the streets during the daytime, which is problematic for motorists, trash cans not being picked up after trash day, unkept properties, high grass, and the tree trimming. They were concerned about that. So I was very pleased with the residents actually coming out and sharing positive things, but also sharing their concerns and so forth. So the next meeting I will have this month on Saturday, September 20th at 11 o'clock at 11 a.m. in meeting room number 2. So if you're from District 6, please come out, and I hope to see you on Saturday, September 20th. Thank you.
Councilwoman Agee.
No report.
That would be District 7, no report. Councilman Adams, District 1.
Good evening. Okay, thanks for coming out.
Into the mic.
I done a complaint about kids playing in the street every evening. I gave the police non-emergency number. Call about the neglected dogs on Turney Road. Referred resident to the dog board. Scott called me back with a quick update that he spoke to the resident in question and advised them how to take care of the animals properly. Complaint on Lisa, my conditions, neighbor's yard having high grass. Referred her to the building. The American Legion 309 is having a crab bake on September 27th, 4 to 6. Tickets must be purchased by September 18th. There's some flyers on the back table. You can see me after the meeting for more information. Thank you for coming out and have a good couple of weeks. And by the way, Mr. Brownlee is welcome to his comments. I asked you to ask for further information from the mayor. Finance director wasn't here at the time when you did not know of $10 million. That is untrue. We brought it forward under Tom Sillikill. I don't think Mr. Brownlee lived in the city then. But I'm pretty sure many of you remember that. You remember when we came in office, you remember the conditions of the streets. You remember the conditions of this building, City Hall, and the fire stations. And our service department remembers the equipment that they were driving, that you could see the concrete roads. They didn't forget what that $10 million went for. That was due to neglect, or not. Let me take that back. It wasn't neglect by the former administrations. It just nothing was taken care of. New windows, new roofs, new trucks, new cars, police cars. How many miles we had on them police cars? Limping along. That's what that $10 million was for, Bill. Nobody stole that money, and we did not take it. And this council, some of us, voted for it. So I asked you, the residents, if you believe Mr. Brownlee about that, just have a conversation with the mayor or the legal department. And I'm pretty sure Irene can dig up the expenses of where that money went, if she had to. So be careful with some of this information. Yes, information is knowledge, and knowledge is power, if you get the right information. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Alex. Councilwoman Tony Jones, District 2.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Maple Heights City Council together is going to have a forum on Wednesday, September 24th, right here at the Senior Center, to discuss the city status and levy information that's going to be on the ballot. We are doing this as one council, minus one person, and we are united together in giving you information that we have. So you have your choice of entertainment by going to the September 11th forum and see what type of information you get there. And then you come to the September 24th forum and you get to see the real information. Because we are going to have Fire Chief Castellucci and we're going to have Director Volpak that is going to let you know the state of the Maple Heights Senior Center and let you know all the services that are going to be cut if our levy does not pass. Ladies and gentlemen, we do nothing illegal. We are a resident and a taxpayer, just like you are sitting at those tables. I was sitting there not too long ago. We do what's in the best interest of the city. We don't create our own rules. We go by the charter of the city of Maple Heights. And if the charter tells us what we need to do when there is an amendment to the charter, or if there is initiative that's on the ballot, we have to follow our charter. And that's what we are doing tonight. And that is by direction of our law department. We don't make up the rules as we go along. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Tony. Councilman Jackson, District 4.
Good afternoon, everybody, or evening. Everybody has, I guess, different opinions. Everybody can express those opinions. And if anybody wants to make changes to the charter tells us how to do that. Because you don't agree with something and you want to come up with your own set of guidelines, don't mean that those are going to be followed without a change in the charter. Some of the things that Bill Brownlee states, I actually agree with. But then there's other things that I don't, but I think that's the way it always is with everybody. But he made a statement about who cares. And that almost insinuated that nobody cared but him. And I'd like to totally disagree with that. I think everybody up here cares. I think everybody in this room cares, or else you wouldn't be here. So that's not even an issue about who cares. But let me ask you a couple of questions. I think you care, and I care, if our city can get out of fiscal watch or not. I think you care, and I care, to keep our city out of fiscal emergency. I think you care, and I care, that our city becomes financially stable, that we're able to pay off our debts. Something else was said in a meeting was that we wasn't actually in $1.8 million worth of debt. And I keep asking this question, do you believe the state audit or not? The state audit had three auditors come in and look at our books. And that's all they do. They have degrees in finance. They looked at our books and they said we're $1.8 million in debt. If we took all the money that we had coming in that everybody owed us, and if we paid all the bills either we have now or is coming in, we would be in the red. We're broke. So don't let anybody tell you any fancy words about that we're just in a bad, negative financial position. Another thing was stated about the loan, and you didn't know about the loan, or people didn't know, people in the city. I did. You know how I knew? I heard about it at city council meeting. It's in the minutes. It's nothing secret. There was nothing done behind closed doors. In fact, and the mayor knows this, I didn't agree with it, but I knew about it, and the work did need to be done, and it was done. But after all the arguments about money that we owe and how it was spent, you get to a point where the money's got to be paid back. You get to that point, and that's the point where we're at now. So now you're going to have to tell yourself, what are you going to do about it? Probably everybody here knows Aretha Franklin. One of her songs was, and she sung it in the Blues Brothers movie, which probably everybody knows too. She said, you better think. You better think about the consequences of your actions. In our case, our inaction. And if the levies don't pass, what that's going to mean. And it's not going to mean cuts. We've cut as far as we can cut. It's going to mean departments are going to close. Not cut, close. And if we lay off any more police and fire, I mean, everybody was happy when you got money back when your property tax went down, when your property valuation went down, which means the city got less money, which means we have less money. But do you know if we keep cutting police and fire that your homeowner's insurance is going to go up? And I don't think anybody will like that part of it. So you've got to think about the consequences of our inaction if we don't get to the polls. And not only you, but your neighbors, you got to need to talk to them. You need to come to the forum and get the information. You need to see the numbers that the auditors and people put together and let you know where we actually are. And the traffic cameras. Nobody likes the cameras. But it does slow people down, it does make our city safe, and it does generate income. And I keep asking this question. I like to put this question to the public too. It's kind of a little challenge. Because one of the things I said last time is nobody has come up to that podium and given us any ideas on how to raise income. So I'd like to put this challenge out to the people in my community now. I'd like for you to send me your ideas via email on how to generate income. For the next week and a half, I'd like everybody who hears me say that, do that and send it to me. My email is, you can get it from City Hall. And I want to compile those and see what we come up with. So anybody who got ideas, because you don't think we have any, I want you to send your ideas in and let's see what you got. Maybe somebody will come up with something good. Maybe somebody hit the lottery and give us $1 million. I know I would if I won. In the report.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. We just have a couple of items and then we'll be on our way here. First of all, I would definitely like to explain and disassociate myself with Mr. Brownlee's explanation of the $500 and why he would not vote for it. I remember many, many years ago bringing that forward when I was first on council, and I think it's a good idea, but not in this particular time zone. I think we have seen the struggles and the difficulty that we have had in trying to resolve some of the deficits we have. It's month to month, week to week, day to day, and you can't imagine the kind of financial machinations that have to go on. This has to be paid, that can't be paid, this has to be paid. I mean, I'm not a finance director. I never wanted to be. I manage my checkbook, and that's as much as I've ever wanted to do. So I do put a lot of faith and trust in our finance director and her staff, and I do believe that they need to be given an opportunity to succeed. And by chastising and condemning and accusing, and it sounds like accusations in some respects, I just don't agree with Mr. Brownlee's point of view at all. But at this point in time, I think that $500 would be a burden. So bring it forward at another point. We had asked through legislation that we see some of the reports, I guess you'd call them, be put on our website, and I think that will help just a little bit to explain what goes in and what goes out, and we'll make sure that that is being done as we go along. And we also, at our forum, will give you a little bit of an explanation of what's happening as well with finances. The other thing, since we did not pass through on emergency, we will be having a meeting on Friday at 6 o'clock to pass the pieces that need to be in Cuyahoga County at early Monday morning. So we'll have an extra meeting for council. Room 7 is fine. Friday, 6 p.m. That will be a special meeting. And the only other thing is single-handedly our councilman from District 5 has rewritten the charter, rewritten the council rules, and has managed to put it all on his own. I think that's a very noble idea. However, we stand by our charter. There's a point in a time and a place where we will be managing it. If you don't like it, you don't agree with it. We have a charter review committee coming up shortly, within the next year, I believe it's the next year or so. And that's the time to change the charter if you don't agree with it. But you don't single-handedly come forward and just smash everything that is in place. I agree with Mr. Halen, and I always don't. But Mr. Halen said we follow the rules, and yes, we do. Absolutely. So, at that point, I'm going to end my report, and then I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn to executive session for a legal update with our legal counsel, Mr. Martello.
So I move.
Call the roll, please.
Who seconded?
Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Jackson. Adams?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Cefaratti? I'm sorry. Jackson,
Yes.
Brownlee,
No.
Trojanski,
Yes.
Agee.
Yes.
So see if the conversation.
Right. Okay. Yes, you're welcome to leave. This shouldn't be too long. If you'd like to stay, you're welcome to. If not,
Madam Chair, could you tell them what any other business be conducted after we come out?
oh, I think they know that. The meeting will be adjourned once we come back out, so.
Maybe somewhere.